Now let's move on to the second college football playoff game, the Sugar Bowl between Washington, number 2 Washington, and number 3 Texas. Washington ends up pulling out a nail biter at the end to win the game 37-31. Micheal Penix Jr. 29 of 38 for 430 yards and 2 touchdowns. Had a phenomenal game. Dylan Johnson, 21 carries, 49 yards, 2 TDs. Rome Odunze, 6 receptions, 125 yards, was the leading receiver on the team. Jalen Polk, 5 receptions, 122 yards, and a TD. Jalen McMillan, 5 receptions for 58 yards and 1 TD. Grady Gross was also 3 for 3 on field goals, which the last field goal was very clutch to put them up in the game, I think by double figures. And Jack Westover had 6 receptions for 59 yards. Let's talk about Quinn Ewers, 24 of 43 for 318 yards. He also had 8 carries for 54 yards. CJ Baxter, the running back, was the leading rusher with 9 carries for 64 yards and a TD. Jaden Blue also had a TD to go along with 9 carries for 59 yards. And shout out to Byron Murphy, the big lineman, with 1 carry for 1 yard and a touchdown. Jatavian Sanders was their leading receiver with 6 receptions for 75 yards. Jordan Whittington with 4 receptions for 70 yards, including that big-time catch to put Texas in the red zone for Texas to have a chance on scoring a touchdown to potentially take the lead. That was a phenomenal catch, great throw by Quinn Ewers. Xavier Worthy only had 2 receptions for 45 yards and a TD, and A.D. Mitchell with 4 receptions for 32 yards and 1 TD. Micheal Penix Jr. was cooking on all cylinders. Washington was cooking on all cylinders. They were cooking with hot grease, and Micheal Penix Jr. was throwing dimes left and right. If I am a NFL GM, I am going after Micheal Penix Jr. I don't care about his age. I don't care about his injuries. I don't care about his height. I don't care about none of that. The throws that he was making in this game, and I'm going to show y'all some of these throws. The throws that he was making in these games was absolutely beautiful. That left-handed throw was absolutely beautiful, and he was throwing them on the money. Quinn Ewers, he played all right. He stepped it up in the second half. But the first half, he was just straight all right. What really killed Texas was the fumbles. The 2 fumbles at the beginning of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter really killed them. One of them leading to a field goal. And I think the other one did also lead into a field goal as well. But both of those really killed them, especially the screen route to the running back, and he runs into his own player causing a fumble. That really could have made the lead could have made it one possession. Really could have made it one possession versus them having to drive all the way back down the field again and hitting A.D. Mitchell for a touchdown to make it one possession. That could have been the lead change versus if they don't fumble in Washington territory, they would have potentially scored a touchdown, and that could have been a one possession game, and the catch by A.D. Mitchell could have been the lead changing game. But that last drive by Washington to set up that field goal by Grady Gross was absolutely beautiful. Sort of kind of like the drive against Oregon in regards to they were going after Texas weaknesses. You can't cover none of our wide receivers. We're going to attack each and every one of your cornerbacks. And that is exactly what they did, especially the throw to Rome Odunze. That was a great throw. And they were killing the Texas cornerbacks the entire game. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Rome Odunze, they were killing them. Washington probably has the best wide receiver core in all of the college football games, in all of 1 through 4, Michigan, Texas, Alabama. Probably have the best out of the 4 teams making it to the college football playoffs. Those wide receivers are great. And the crazy thing about it, I feel as though Texas is they're more talented than Washington. I feel as though Texas is more talented than Washington. I really do. from top to bottom, I feel as though they're more talented. But Washington, they just won. And with everything at stake, if Texas would have won this game, they could have easily basically had home field because they're playing in Houston versus Michigan. They would have basically had home field, and they pretty much had home field in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl, and they flat out sold. And it was the same thing in college basketball to bring it back to Texas, and they flat out sold. They flat out sold. Texas, you should feel ashamed. You had everything on the line. If you win this game, you're coming back to Houston with every single person that's from Texas rooting for y'all, other than your Texas A&M fans. But everybody's rooting for Texas. You're going to have pretty much home field against Michigan, and you flat out sell the bag. The cornerbacks could not stop none of the wide receivers. And I want y'all to look at some of these throws by Micheal Penix Jr. because some of these throws were pro throws, and I really want y'all to look at this. This was the one right before halftime to make it 21-14. I just want you to look at that laser. The ball was so good that the wide receiver didn't even think that he was going to catch it. He thought that it was going to get flat out picked off. Flat out thought it was going to get picked off. Here's another throw that I want y'all to look at. 2nd down and 3. Just over the cornerback. Just over the cornerback. Cornerback didn't even have a chance at it. Didn't even turn in time. That is a great throw. And that whole entire drive by Washington was just great. They knew that the Texas DBs couldn't cover. They couldn't cover none of their wide receivers. So we're going to attack them. We're going to attack them. And this was after the A.D. Mitchell catch to make it a one-score game with 7 minutes. There was 7 minutes left in the game. So it was sort of kind of like the Oregon game where they get the ball with all of this time left and they go after the team's weaknesses. Against Oregon, they attacked the run because Dylan Johnson was running for over 5 yards a carry. This game, they saw that Texas DBs couldn't cover. So what did they do? They attacked every single one of them. And I just want y'all to look. We're going to do it right here. 5 minutes and 35 seconds. 1st down and 10. Little swing route to Jalen McMillan. Working the perimeter. That's the first play. The second play. Throwing it to Rome Odunze, which I just showed y'all. And that set up a field goal for Grady Gross to make it a 2-score game with 2 minutes and 44 seconds left. Mind you, they got the ball with 7 minutes left in the game. And they attacked each and every one of the Texas DBs. The turnovers killed Texas. The turnovers killed them. The fumbles killed them. And Micheal Penix Jr. dimed each and every one of those wide receivers. Killed each and every one of those Texas DBs. Nickeling and diming. Throwing dimes down the field. Texas just flat out couldn't cover. And I knew that this game was going to be a shootout. I thought that it was going to be a 44-41 game. I tweeted it on my X page. I thought it was going to be a 44-41 game, 38-35 game. No team couldn't stop nobody. But the turnovers really killed Texas. And Micheal Penix Jr. was literally killing this team. Only threw for 9 incompletions. Only had 9 incompletions the whole entire game. Quinn Ewers didn't play as good in the first half, but the second half he played better. And I want y'all to keep in mind, Micheal Penix Jr. only missed 1 pass the entire third quarter. 1 pass the entire third quarter. That is phenomenal. And the play that he did miss on, it hit the person in his hands. He just couldn't bring it in. So that was the only time he missed. But needless to say, Texas DBs got cooked the entire game. Literally cooked by all of the wide receivers, Warren Day, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan. And Washington has the best wide receiver core out of the top four. Clearly, that was exactly what was shown. The Washington defense was doing pretty good. They were holding the Texas wide receivers. Your Xavier Worthy's the only 2 catches. Your A.D. Mitchell's the only 2 catches. Your people that you really needed, your game changers, Washington did a good job holding them. Did a very good job. And on the last play of the game, people want to call it a pass interference. We're going to look at it. I honestly believe that it was a good play by the DB. Let's go to it. Well, first I want to look at the Quinn Ewers play. Let's look at the Quinn Ewers play to Jordan Whittington for a big time play. Let's look at it.
Closest to line in the 3 receivers to the right. Ewers lofts it up. There's single coverage.
That was his best throw of the game. Best throw of the game. Last play of the game. 4th down and 11. People say he jumped over him. Maybe a little bit of contact. But I feel as though that was just a good play by the Washington DB. Very good play by the Washington DB. I don't know why Quinn Ewers lobbed it. I feel as though if he would have bulleted it, if he would have threw it early, or if he would have attacked, the wide receiver would have attacked the pylon, maybe it could have been a touchdown. Maybe. But the Washington DB, that was a good deflection. Very good coverage by him. And Washington ends up pulling out the W. Very good game. Like I told y'all with the Alabama-Michigan game. If it's just a casual fan just want to look at some good football, both of these games were good. Both of these games were for you. Looked at both of them. Because high-scoring game, shootout game, if you want that type of football game, Washington versus Texas were good for you. Was good for you. If you want a smash mouth, adjusting game by Nick Saban in the second half and smash mouth by Michigan, good defense by both teams in the second half, especially by Alabama, you look at that. With the overtime thriller, you look at Alabama versus Michigan. Both of these games were very, very, very good. Both of these games was what I expected. I expected Washington and Texas to have a more high-scoring game than Michigan versus Alabama. I expected it to be a shootout, but I really did expect Texas and Alabama going to the national championship, the college football national championship game. And boy, I was wrong. 0-2 for both of my picks, but Micheal Penix Jr. looks like the best quarterback out of the four. He was looking very good in this game. Sharp shooter. Very sharp. That left-handed, beautiful throw was just straight sharp. Looked very good. Each and every one of his throws looked very good. And like I said before, Texas, the DBs killed Texas, and the turnovers really killed Texas because they couldn't stop a cold. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. They just couldn't. So shout out to Washington. Shout out to the coaching by Washington. Shout out to Washington for winning against Texas.